All right, welcome back to our 12-hour live. This is 12 hours of free PD for you all day long. We're on Twitter, we're on Twitch, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. And right now I am on with my good friend, Trey Gammage. Trey, how are you this morning, brother?
Look, man, I'm doing so good, and I appreciate all the kind words from you and from Ray this morning before we come on. So I'm excited to join the 12-hour live, the Teach Better team, and talk about one of my favorite things: morning routines.
So let's get right. I want to get right into it, but I want to stop real quick. So we mentioned you've been in our network for a while. You're on the podcast network. You're on the speakers network. But for anybody who's not connected with you, can you give us the quick? Who is Trey Gammage? What do you do? Where are you at? What's your role in education?
Sure thing. So I'm a dean of students at a K-12 charter school. We're actually planning now this summer to prepare everything for next year at a school called the PD Math Science and Technology Academy in rural South Carolina. So love what we're doing here. About to have our first graduating class in 2022. So we've been working hard on that. And I've been consulting for about 5 years as an adult SEL consultant and working with several schools in the area to build the social emotional competencies in adults so that we can better support our students in the classroom.
I love that. And what's the website? Throw us the website real quick.
SELeducators.com.
Make it super easy for you. SELeducators.com if you want to check out Trey's work. So, all right, Trey, we're talking about morning routines, which is great because it's still the morning for, and some people it's still way early over on our West Coast friends. So, I want to talk about sort of what you do in the morning, what your routine is. And one of the things that I saw a video that you did recently where, you talk about the idea of routines being so important because they ground you when life gets crazy, but also that like things get off track and life gets off track and you have curveballs, both good and bad, and changes in your life. And I know recently in the last 12 months or so, you've had quite a few changes in your life. So I'd love to hear. So can you walk us through, do you have a set routine that you do every morning? And can you break that down for us, what that looks like?
For sure. So I think one of the first points is to be flexible with your morning routine. And, some of the changes that I've had, having a child, moving to a new home, I've got a longer commute now to work. So there's times when I now have to be flexible. So where traditionally my morning routine is waking up, I pray, I read my Bible or a Bible verse, like Bible study in the morning. I might read a book, so some things are interchangeable. And just really spend time with myself. I think it's important not to have a phone or not to have technology for. It could be a 15-minute routine, a 30-minute routine, an hour routine. Some people like to work out first thing in the morning, so I've tried all those things.
Something for yourself, right? Some sort of fulfillment for yourself. Fill your cup up is what you're talking about. I love
something for myself. But at the same time, nowadays, I'm flexible enough to understand that, hey, this morning my son is up early. He's my morning routine, spending time with him. So, I have a routine that I like to stick to, and there's, certain practices. I have a journal for me. Daily journaling is like I can't go without it. And I set my priorities and my tasks for the day and what I'm grateful for. And so those allow me to document my progress daily over time so that I'm not surprised by my success or it's easy to see when I fall off track.
Gotcha. So you talk about being flexible. So tell me about like the last, some of the moments that you've had that have made you like where the flexibility really has come in because something in your life has changed, whether expectedly or unexpectedly, or even if it was expected, maybe it wasn't quite the change that you thought it was going to be. Can you walk us through sort of your mindset?
Yeah.
That flexible routine to keep yourself grounded and having good mornings when you're getting started off right.
Absolutely. So I would say, before we moved into our house, before my son was born, it was ideal for me to wake up around 4:00, 4:30 in the morning and do about a 30-minute morning routine. And so again, that routine would consist of me writing in my daily journal, writing in my 90-day journal, and really sitting down to meditate through prayer and through actual sitting still meditation before I get started with what I call a jam session. I got that from Darren Hardy, which is a 15 to 90-minute work session where you just set a timer, no distractions, and you just work as long as you can. So the goal would be to get done with my morning routine and my number one priority task by before 8 a.m. But again, now I've adjusted to a place where, my wife and I have our son, we have a home. It takes me about 50 minutes to get to work. So I can still wake up at 4 o'clock or 4:30, but it takes me an hour to get to work instead of 20 minutes. So some parts of my routine have to change. I don't get to work out is a big change that I've had. I used to work out daily, and now I'm doing more push-ups and sit-ups at home. And so that's not necessarily my morning routine, but it's a piece of my day that I have to adjust
Hmm.
because there's less time in my mornings and whatnot. So, that would be the biggest thing, just understanding when I have to leave for work, and then also, being flexible if my wife has to leave the house early, or if my son is up early, and I need to take care of him. So I'm open to those things where when I was younger, before I had these kind of priorities, I may have beaten myself up for not being able to check every box on my
Hmm.
list. But at the end of the day, it's a task list. Like if you don't get your task done, there's always going to be something else for you to do. So recognize that, put it on your list for tomorrow, and keep on rolling through.
So I wanted to catch you held them up. You mentioned two different journals that you use. Can you walk us through what are you said a morning journal and a 90-day? Can you break that down for
Yeah.
me?
So
Because I do morning pages, which is a little different than journaling because you're not reflecting on it. You're just brain dumping,
mhm.
basically. I never read them back. So tell me about your morning journey. What a journal? What does that look like? And then I'm sure some people probably want to know, like, what journal do you use, right? Because they're going to go get it on Amazon or whatever.
Yeah.
But what do you use,
So
and how do you utilize that?
so this journal is just it's a basic journal, no lines, no prompts, no
Just
nothing.
wide
But
open.
every day I just like to, for me, a lot of times it just feels good to whatever's in my head, put it down on paper. If it's an incantation or a manifestation I want to have, or if it's a thought that I don't want to have anymore, I just like to write every morning. So again, in my past, that's something I've been able to do for 10, 15, 25 minutes. But now I just like to, hey, how you feeling today? How you feeling about the day? Whatever the case is. And then I have my 90-day journal. This is from bestself.co, bestself.co. I do have an affiliate link with them for 15% off. That's Gammage. Um, they've been out for a few years now. I've been using
Yeah.
these journals for about 4 years. And the way you can think about it, a lot of people will set annual goals, but motivation doesn't last. The 90 days is about the length of time that motivation does last. So for me, I actually find that 6 weeks through these 90-day journals, 13 weeks, I find that I usually have a stumbling block around 6 or 7 weeks where I lose focus or I need another task to add on to my list because things become too redundant. So because
Yeah.
I'm using these journals and every day and every week, I'm reflecting on what's going on. I'm able to see, okay, don't plan the whole 13 weeks. Plan the first 6 or 7 and then re-strategize in the middle of it so that you don't get burnt out
Yeah.
and you kind of get to reset yourself.
And I love that you say that and that your transparency there, Trey, because I think one of the most important pieces, and we had a conversation about this a while back. I think maybe on our last live hour, 12-hour live with Lindsay Titus about how just the importance of self-awareness of what works for you, right?
Yeah.
So Trey journals every morning. It's handwritten journal that works for him. That may not be what you need, right? And I want you to hear what Trey was doing. He's done a lot of self-reflection and a high level of self-awareness of what works. He got a 90-day journal. Like they have a lot of data that supports that 90 days is what makes sense,
Hmm.
and they've sold a lot of those journals based around that. But Trey realized, I love that you realize, yeah, 90 days isn't what for me. I got to go short. I got to go 6 weeks. That's where I got to go because I think
Yeah.
that's such an important piece of the morning routine. So like same when you talk about like your commute changing, like some people that would just eliminate something, or now I got to work out late at night, which means I'm working later. You said no, it's got to adjust what workout means, right? I might not be able to
Yeah.
go hit a full routine in, but I'm gonna at least get my body going with some push-ups, sit-ups, stuff like that I can do at home. That doesn't take much time, right? So it's being aware of
Hmm.
yourself and your situation, being real, being self-aware, and adjusting based on that. Um, so what's your car? So you got a 50-minute car ride. What's that like? What are you doing in your?
Yeah.
I hope that's not a weird question, but like, is that part of your routine? Are you utilize that in a very specific way, or is it kind of like just time to be relaxed and open, or are you listen to podcasts all
Yeah.
the way there? Like, what's that look like for you?
So again, I don't want to sound too robotic. Like I have my mornings where I'm just listening to sports talk radio or whatever the case is. But
Gotcha.
it is something that I try to be strategic with. So towards the end of the school year, so I moved in January. So basically, the whole second semester, I had that 50-minute car ride. So in the
Hmm.
mornings, it'd be like 10 minutes to the highway, and then I'm on the highway for about 30 to 45 minutes. So
Gotcha.
maybe the first 10 minutes, I might catch up what happened last night, what games went on, whatever. But when I hit the highway, I got Audible. And so I would try to listen to a book a week. And so I listened to Building Your Story Brand and Building Your Marketing Brand. There was a couple books that I listened to. And then right now, there's some podcasts, Earn Your Leisure, David Shands, I think it's called Sleepers for Suckers, or the Social Proof podcast. There's different kind of business or motivation or mindset oriented podcasts that I feel like are necessary for me right now because I want to be more focused and more
Yeah.
disciplined is what I feel like I need to have kind of moving forward. So there's different stuff that I like to listen to in the mornings, and then in the afternoon on my commute back is where I will take my time and I listen to my sports radio, or I'll make my phone calls to family, or I just relax because when I go back in the house, I want to be ready to be a husband and to
Yeah.
be a father. So
So you're using that
that
commute home almost as the transition from professional trade to
yeah,
family trade. Yeah, I love that.
exactly,
Joe,
exactly.
Joe, I'm not sure. I think maybe are you asking about the journals? So Joe's asking, can you say those are going to drop the links? I'm not sure. Can you tell what was the name
Yeah.
of the journal? And it was your best self. Say that again.
Bestself.co.
And you can use Gammage as the as
Yeah,
a code there. So if you do go get one of these, make sure you use Gammage so that Trey gets hooked up with his affiliate link there. Um,
yeah.
so someone's asking what part of South Carolina do you teach in? There's the question right there from Lance. So if you want to share
I'm
that,
I'm in the PD region, so it's in Bishopville, South Carolina. I used to work at the Governor School of South Carolina as well. That's in Hartsville. I've worked with a few. There's a few rural charter schools that I've worked with. The Midland STEM Institute out in Winsboro, South Carolina. Um, Other areas like that. So primarily, though, it's Bishopville. Is where my
appreciate
school
it.
is at.
AJ said a little bit earlier, the discipline to wake up and get right to work is tough. I can't get moving until my first cup of coffee. My response, I'm laughing a little bit, AJ, because I totally feel you. But like, I think for me, AJ, is go back to like what we Trey kind of hit on is right is understand what works for you. If your morning doesn't like just because it's Trey's routine and what works for him is to
Yeah,
get that hour work or 90 minute. I can't remember how long you said it was. That may not be the thing for you. Like for me, my morning routine is I get up, I get my cup of coffee because AJ, I need that too, and I take at least 30 minutes of reading. And it
yeah,
can be any kind of reading. I might be reading a book, or well, Blinkist, a book on Blinkist, or just reading through news articles, business articles, whatever it is. I'm taking 30 minutes, and really for me, that is my self awareness of how my mind works in the morning, and I get a little too. I like as soon as I wake up, I start thinking about how I should have woke up an hour earlier and started working, no matter what time I wake up,
mhm,
and get my mind. That's my intentional. Like, slow down, Jeff. Enjoy yourself, your morning for a minute here. Sip on your coffee, sit on the couch, and wait for the kids to come out and whatever, hug in the morning before I then get into work mode. So, H, I really think it's all
yeah.
about that self awareness, figuring out what works for you and put that in place there. So, um,
Absolutely. I was thinking too, for a teacher, you might be in a situation where home is not your place to do your morning routine. Maybe
that's a
you get
good
to
point.
school and you have a routine as soon as you get to campus. These are the steps you do to get ready for the day. So there's a variety, and perhaps it's not a morning routine, but an evening routine that you have that gets you set up for the following day. So it's all about what works for you.
I think that's a great point. I know we're talking about the morning, but you just went there, so I'm going to go there. What's the evening routine look like for Trey Gammage? How do you prep
Uh,
yourself to be ready for your morning? Because that is a
yeah.
big piece of that.
Absolutely, and it's a place where I spend more time on my morning routine. The evening routine I'm a little more flexible with. Especially now what I'll do in the evenings towards the end of the night I'll stay up and any final tasks I need to do I'll take care of those, and then before I'm done I I like to go into my same journal, the 90 day, and at the start of the day, it says what 3 tasks do you want to get done? What's going to make the
Mhm.
day complete? And so at the end, I just look at my day and say, okay, can I check some things off? Do I X some things off? And then I say, okay, well, I'm still happy with how this day turned out, or I'm not happy with how the day turned
Right.
out. And so for me, Sundays are my planning days. So on Sunday, I went through the week and I prioritized my meetings. And like this week, I'm planning all week with our leadership team. So I know what the week looks like. Excuse me. And yeah, so anything extra that I have, I'm able to schedule that in. And
Yeah.
so, like in the evenings, I'm not necessarily planning for the next day, but I already know what's on the agenda. And in the morning, I'll
Gotcha.
prioritize those.
Yeah, I love it. I do a Sunday like look out to the morning, but I do like the last thing I do every day is that I take a look at what I didn't get accomplished, what needs to move to the next day, or that maybe didn't need to be on my list to begin with, and get myself set up
Mhm.
for the next day. And make sure I'm aware of all the meetings because sometimes they slide in there. So somewhere there, I also want to mention because you mentioned the journals. If you're not a kinesthetic person that needs to write down, which I am in a lot of things, but for my journaling, I do morning pages, but that's really like a brain dump of writing. But I actually do an app on my phone called the 5 Minute Journal. I think it costs a couple bucks. It might cost like $5, but it gives you a prompt in the morning where it asks you to give your affirmations and talk about what your goals are and what you're going to get done today. And then at night, and you set the time when it pops up. And then at night, it prompts you again to reflect on the day, on what 3 amazing things happened today, what could have made today better. So it's similar in that routine of like, it's an app. So if you're someone who does better with the prompt from the app, the notification on your phone, making you have to get things done, that has been a good one for me. I've been using that app for several years now, but it's called 5 Minute Journal. So that's a potential tool there as well. Before we get going any further, we talked a lot about giveaways. It looks like the link is working. Some people jumped in, try refreshing it a few times, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but it looks like it is working. It just might need a quick refresh. We have, Trey, 2 $10 Starbucks gift cards. So, Ray Starbucks, if you want to be like Ray Hewitt, we're going to give away 2 Starbucks gift cards. This isn't on that link. This you got to do right now. So you got to be with us right now. This is the first 2 comments that share something that is essential to starting your day. What are what is that thing that is essential to your morning routine? First 2 to drop in the comments with that are going to pick that, and then Katie will let me know who that is, and we'll get you set up. So that's 2 $10 Starbucks gift cards coming that way. So, Trey, I want to ask kind of a reverse question of what are some things, maybe what is one thing that you tried to put into your, maybe you haven't done this, maybe you're better than me, that you've tried to put in practice because you've read it somewhere, people have talked about it, and you almost felt like you should, or you're pressured to, that didn't work for you, that where that self-awareness and that reflection like said, hey, you know what, this isn't for me. This isn't my routine for me. Has that happened? Can you recall anything where that's been the case?
I could say, yeah, and from a seasonal perspective. So like there's been seasons of my life where like meditating, I meditate for 20, 30, 40, 50 an hour at a time and just sit there in calmness and stillness. And even maybe a year ago, I was using Headspace, and every day I was going through Headspace, and I had the different levels and stuff that I was doing there. But then there came a point was like, hey, I can't do this anymore. Like I didn't want to sit still. I didn't want to be in that moment. And so I feel like I could have gotten stuck in saying, hey, Trey, you have to do this. And I do try to, like, I don't just give up right away, but I'll try to push through it. But it's like, okay, this isn't working for me right now anymore. So what I found I always read a lot of success journals and stuff, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Napoleon Hill, Dennis Kimbro. I read all those guys. And what I've realized from them is that there's really a list of 15 or 16 virtues, principles, purposes that you have. And you just have to have 2 or 3 of those in your life at a given time to continue on your path towards success, which is doing what you love to do.
I love that. I love that. That's awesome. And it goes again to the self-awareness and understanding. Like, I love that you mentioned it. Like, you don't just give up right away because it wasn't working right? You give it a good, thorough effort, but it's that reflection and understanding, like, okay, am I currently trying this because I still believe it's right, what's right for me, or am I still trying to push this into my routine because because someone I respect says that I should, or because it's a popular thing right now, and understand, okay, what actually works for me. And I love you mentioned those virtues, right, and making sure that they align with what you're trying to accomplish there. So really love how you mentioned that. Real quick, our winners: Lance McLaren from over on YouTube, and Carly Spina over on Facebook. You two just won a $10 Starbucks gift card each. Make sure you email Katie, Katie, at teachbetter.com. Let her know that you won, and she'll get you taken care of and get that out to you. So congrats on the win there. Trey, if I were to ask you the best piece of advice you could give us for finding the thing, whether it's the full routine or the pieces of the routine, for our morning to get off right, where would you take us there? If you and I were sitting here with one-on-one coaching, I'm like, Trey, my morning's a mess. I don't know where to go. You seem so calm and collected and like set with your morning routine. Like, I'm a mess. How do I get there? What should I do? I don't know. Maybe this is a first step thing. Maybe it's not a best piece of advice. Maybe it's a first step. What do I need to do first? How should I get there? How do I get to that point?
I would say document, don't try to create. And so that's been in my head for about 10 minutes, and I hope this makes sense in it.
Yeah, let's go there.
But one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to journal and wanted to have a morning routine, I heard about Marcus Aurelius, who was around in 400 BC, AD, whatever it was, but he was one of the most well-renowned people of all time. And this book that Marcus Aurelius has is actually just his daily journals. He did a daily journal of his life. And I think that's part of where a Stoic philosophy or mindset came from. And people learned a lot from Marcus Aurelius. And I heard other people talk about documenting the process. In a podcast, you document each episode, and 4 years later, you've got 200. With these journals, I started journaling because I was lost. I felt crazy. I didn't know what to do. I was just praying. I was like, Lord, I just need to write. But it turned out that writing, now I can go back to 2013, 2014, 2015, and I have piles of journals. I have piles of wisdom, piles of knowledge that when you think about it, if my son wants to know how I was feeling at 22, at 23, at 24, he can go open up a journal. If someone wants to go and understand, even as my grandchild or my great-grandchild, they can go and listen to 200 podcast episodes. They can go open a 90-day journal. And at some point, I can choose to take that information, transcribe it, and let it even just be a memoir for my family. So when you think about your morning routine, that's the time for you to stop and to document what you got going on in your life. And even if you don't think you got anything going on in your life, that's a great reason to start right now, so you can see the progression and the change in who you are over time. And what you document, like once those things are on paper, now you hold yourself to a level of accountability that you didn't when those thoughts run so freely through your mind, and you can have the thought and forget about it. When you write it down, you make it plain, and it starts to happen.
Wow, that the legacy, the memoir to your family, that's so powerful. I love that. And I love, talking about the document, and like you talked about the podcast and writing, like somewhere down the line, you're going to have a whole lot of content that you could potentially put into something. Two questions. One serious, one somewhat serious, but more logistical. Thinking through my head how long you might have been doing this. The first one is the less serious one is, where do you store all these? Because I got to imagine there's just at some point, like how many closets are you filling with these little journals? Do you have a storage space somewhere? Like what do you do? I'm being serious. I know I'm kind of joking, but what do you how do you do that? Like, where do you store them? Because they got to be piling up at this point, right?
They are. There's actually I think it's like an 18 by 24 foot box. Since we moved, I have them they're in a box in my office. So I have a little space in there where the books are on the bottom, and I stacked a lot of bags and stuff on the top. So prior to that, I had them in like a 3-drawer chest type of thing, one of those plastic ones. But that thing fell apart because the journals are too heavy. So my oldest journal is from 2013. But I started journaling consistently probably in 2015.
That's still 6 years of. How many of these smaller your morning journals? How quickly do you go through those typically?
So there was points where If it was 100 pages, it'd be 100 days. So if
Okay,
it
so
was
typically a
200
page a
pages,
day, give it. Okay, so you're about a page a
yeah,
day. Okay,
that'd be about the average. And then so
gotcha,
there may
gotcha.
be some days if I'm like back when I was starting the podcast or starting my business, there's some journals that are dedicated to ideas. And so I've got maybe 3 or 4 journals that are about the dash or about my business. And if
Gotcha,
I was getting in the zone, I might have 5 pages one day, and then I might not have something for a couple of days, and then I'll
gotcha.
have 2 more. So on average, about a page a day.
So then how often do you yourself, and is this something that is like set in place, or is it just when you're feeling it? How often do you go back to those older journals like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and read through them and reflect and pull ideas out of it? Is that something that is a routine that's in place, or just kind of like every now and then you feel like it, so you go look, like what does that look
Yeah,
like for you?
so I've organized them before and like put them in order, but in my head I still got my head down and I'm grinding. So I'm not ready
See,
to
it's
look
not
up
reflection time quite
yet.
yet. Okay, I
Yeah,
got you.
it's not reflective time. So I've still got
Man,
my dad and my brother used to tell me you got till you're 30 to keep on grinding. And so I still got a couple years to get there. And so I don't feel like I have time yet to look back. And maybe that's a self-reflection too of being more satisfied with that stuff. But I know how I've changed, and I know I'll be probably transformed by some of that, but I haven't taken the time to look back at a lot of those yet.
it's gonna be a fun time when you do, and how many books come from that? I
Yeah,
think, or
yeah.
podcast episodes. So I'm not gonna skip over the fact that you said you have a couple years till you're 30, and just made me feel extremely old. And I know Dave Schmidt's back in the green room, the waiting room there, and he's like, "Come on, dude, really?" Because Dave's older than me. Just saying. Um, so Trey, we're just about wrapped our time. Congrats to the winners of the gift card. It does sound like things are working over on the page, so you can go submit your info. You only got to do that once to win all the other stuff, all the other prizes over at the 12-hour giveaways form. Also, I know our team dropped in. If you go over to teachbetterswag.com all day today and use 12-hour summer love, get 25% off any and all swag throughout there. And yes, you can use it multiple times, but it will expire. That ends at the end of today, in Eastern time zone. So make sure you head over and do that. We're about to get into pivot. Moving past this last year, that's Dave Schmidt. He's got Josh Stamper and the amazing Lavana Roth. I'm so freaking jealous right now, Dave. And I know Dave's just like, too bad, buddy. And I know Ray's jealous as well. So super excited for that session. Stick with us all day long. Trey, man, I'm so thankful for you just all the time and being connected to you, and for you taking some time out and hanging out with us today. One last time, best way for people to get to connect with you, throw the site really quick. Let us know where we can get more
Absolutely.
conversations with you going.
Yep, SELeducators.com and SEL Educators on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm at Trey Gammage. I see AJ's question about the journals. It is the self journal. I've also used the 6-month journal and the habit tracker. So
Trey, can you do me a favor? When you're done, can you jump in the comments, maybe drop some links in there for us when you're done? Okay. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I'm like, a lot of people are asking about that, so I really would love to have that. And that'd be awesome. So appreciate you, brother. And his Twitter's been on screen all day. That's your Twitter and your Instagram, correct? At Trey Gammage.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I love it. Right. Trey, appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We're going to be right back. More 12-hour continue with Dave, Joshua Stamper, and Lavana Roth. Stick with us. We'll be right back in a minute.